Okay, so I've got the original starter motor there, and I've removed the bracket from the rear, which goes like that, and I've got the new starter motor there from Durolast, and as it turns out, the bracket at the rear doesn't fit this particular starter motor, but as the manual for that came with this says, it doesn't need it because it weighs about 2 kilograms less than the original starter motor, and the bracket that goes towards the rear of the housing there, one here, one on the other side, they're threaded, unlike the original one, which are through bolts. It doesn't need the other bracket because it just doesn't have the sort of weight. So I should be able to pop that on. Alright, so here's the new starter motor. Now, the old starter motor had a bracket which connected to the two little screws at the end, the little bolts at the end, and it actually held the back of the starter in the housing here by a bolt and nut, or no, just a bolt into a threaded hole in the housing. But this one isn't as heavy. It's about 2 kilograms lighter, as I said before, so it goes in and it's held only by the two bolts on either side. It doesn't need support at the back. However, the original one had these bolts that went through the back. The casing on the starter in the Bosch starter, the original one, is just a through hole, so that went through the through hole, and then the cover went on, and then this little security thing for the cover, so you know, it holds it down, and there's a nut in that springy retainer that did up and secured the whole thing, both the starter motor and this. But because these don't have a through hole, they've got a threaded hole, you've got to put the bolts in from that side. Now in here, if I do that with the original bolts, there's no access to put an Allen key in there unless I cut a hole, which I don't want to do. So I'm going to be using these hex heads, which allow me to put a proper socket in there and do them up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some anti-seize on these and then do them up. So I don't need this nut. And I've got a slightly bigger washer to help retain that. I can pop that in there. And the same thing on the other side. And I've got all these cables that came off the bike to the diode board, the starter, all these things, as I've done in our previous video, so I can follow that pretty easily. I want to clean them up, and I want to change the rubber grommets. I've got replacements for them because these things are perishing, they're just falling apart. Okay, I've got a new alternator or a generator from Durolast. It's a high output 400 watt alternator compared to the original, which I think is about 260. Anyway, I've got to put it together. I've got the windings there and the cover, the stator cover, the stator and the stator cover, and there's 3 wires and a wire there. They go through the respective holes like so. And what I've got to do now is I've got to remove the spade there and hook that on, put the spade above it, and that's the Y terminal, and these three are the AC voltage supply from the stator, and they will have to be soldered onto these little lugs there, and the end trimmed off, and then I can put it on to the rotor in the bike. Right, so I've soldered the three AC terminals and trimmed the excess. I've put that wire under the spade there and tightened it up. I've got the stator underneath, and I'm ready to put that on the rotor, but first I've got to put the rotor in. Now there's the rotor, and I've cleaned the taper end thoroughly with a bit of metal polish and brake cleaner, and I've done the same thing to the tapered end of the crankshaft right there. So the idea is that you put the rotor in, tap it in and turn it, and it shouldn't slip. You should be able to turn the whole motor with it, and if it slips, it's not clean enough, and only when it engages properly then you can put the bolt on. And I've also put a very light coat of oil on the outside of the taper end, so that it slips into the seal nicely without too much friction. Just give it a tap. Just see what happens when I try to turn it. No, it slips, so obviously not clean enough. So I'll keep doing that until it engages. Okay, there it is, and now if I put a lot of force on it, I don't have the bolt in yet, it doesn't slip. And I tried outer polish and brake cleaner, that didn't work. I tried alcohol, it didn't work. Acetone worked. Acetone is a very good degreaser. Anyway, that's on. I'll put the bolt on, and then I can put the rest on. Right, the stator cover is on, and a couple of things to note is that you need to protect the brushes. So I put a little bit of cardboard as I put it on, so it went over those commutators. And the other thing is to make sure that when it goes in, it's a very tight tight fit onto the housing for the stator, so you need to just go in and slowly do the bolts up a little bit at a time so it doesn't skew, and then you can see if you've got it all right by the distance of this black painted line from the housing there, and it's even all the way around. Is it? Yeah. So anyway, and you do the bolts up snug, not too tight, because you can really crank them up and you'll just strip the threads. And I've got the bolt. It's an Allen bolt with a lock washer, and that's done up to 14 foot-pounds, and that's secure, so I can put the stator and stator cover back on. Okay, so I'm ready to put the diode board on, and that's it there, and goes like so. There's a spade connector at the back of it, and the little blue wire from the bundle, where is it? There it is, goes in there. Then that'll bolt on to the mounts. Now I've got an old bike which has solid mounts already, and so you don't need to replace them, but if you have rubber mounts you need to replace them. And I'm putting an extra earth that connects to the body of the engine, although these things will have connection direct to this, so there's no real need, but I guess it just makes sense to put an extra earth. And okay, so I'll connect it all up, Then there's the 3 yellow wires that go to the stator, another one that goes to that there. There's a few, and another 2 spades there. These are the cables for them from that bundle. Anyway, I'm going to pop those on. Right, that's all done. So I've got by the way, it's a new diode board that comes with the alternator as a kit. It includes also a voltage regulator. So that's the diode board is mounted onto the front timing cover housing, and I've put an extra earth on that top one. You can see the little brown cable just there. I've got the red cable coming from the starter solenoid, the positive terminal, and that plugs into the side of the diode board there. There's a few spade connectors for different size connectors. I've got the 3 bundles of wires, yellow, going to the stator cover, which was soldered on. That's for AC current, and the sequence of those doesn't matter, so they can go to any of the 3 labeled. But the Y terminal here on the diode board goes to the Y terminal on the stator cover, and there she blows. Now there's a little black connector here from the original bundle, right? The front engine bundle, which connects to the condenser, but I won't be using the condenser because I'm using one of these things, electronic ignition. So well, I think I won't be using it. I'm not sure at this stage. I'm pretty sure I won't. So that will do for the time being. I've got all the cabling sorted out. We'll start with the connections to the starter motor. There's the red battery or positive cable that goes to the battery, to the back there, and that connects to the starter solenoid, and there's a piggyback red wire that connects to the back of the what it's called, the starter switch. They go straight to the positive battery terminal. There's a little red cable inside there that also connects to the same pole as the positive battery, and that goes to the diode board. I've run the main harness from the headlight under the main spine of the bike, and I've run some cables through the rubber mount. I've mounted that, and that must be a flasher relay because it connects back to the headlight, so it must be a flasher relay. There were some cables that were loose cables. They're all earths, and I'm just going to leave them there because they don't seem to go anywhere, so I'll just tuck them in and tie them off. There's a connection there from the main loom that goes to the clutch switch, the neutral, the clutch switch. What else is there? Yes, I've connected on top here. There's a couple of cables that connect to the top of the brake fluid container, and they are brake fluid warning light. I don't know how it works, but I'll connect them up anyway. And in the front there's the front brake light switch that when you depress the mechanism there, the fluid presses on the, I don't know how it works, but I think fluid presses on that switch and either opens or closes the switch there. What else have we got? Going back, the rest of the loom goes towards the rear, and it has connections for the rear brake light switch, which I'll hook up later, and these things are for the oil switch and I think maybe the neutral light switch as well. Just underneath the tank mounts, I've connected the controller for the ignition system, the electronic ignition system, the wedge tail, and that just has a plug in there, and which I'll run a cable through. Once I've got the covers on this, I'll run a cable through to the front here of the timing cover. On the other side, I've got cables running through, the throttle cables, one on each side. Throttle cables, one on each side. The tacho cable that runs to the gearbox there. And I've got the brake cable as well running through there as well. I've got from the main loom an earth coming through there, another one from the back loom that connects there as well. I can't remember what this is for, so I'll figure that out in a minute. This is for the left coil, I'm going to replace it with a single coil, but for one of the coils, and there's a black one that runs on to the other one. They're internally connected, these ones. And I've got the voltage regulator, an e-voltage regulator. There's a plug that plugs directly in there. The horns comes from the main loom. The earth runs to a bolt just on the frame inside there, and the power comes from the main loom right there. So you can see the loom running across there. I've tucked it in between the spine there and the rubber thing. That's about all I've got at this stage. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put the covers on, and I'm going to start to finalize all the things. I've got to put the coils on and continue. Right, I've put the rubber hose through the side cover there, and I'm going to put, before I put that on, I'm going to put the top cover, but I've got to feed this cable, which goes to the controller of the electronic ignition. I've got to feed it through the vent there. Just put the camera up. Yeah, put it through there, and that'll go through one of the holes there on the timing cover and onto the cable that comes out of the wedge tail ignition timing thing, whatever. And then I can, once I put that on, I'll put the two side covers with a filter inside, and that'll seal it all up.